Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the 10 books that I read in August. Alright, so of the 10 books I read, I had a pretty good mix of fantasy and romance, and I actually threw a thriller in there too, which I don't actually read too often, but hopefully a little bit more as we get a little bit more into fall. And yeah, so I'm not going to go through any of these in any particular order. I'm just going to go based off how they're stacked right here. So the first book, and the actual only book that I've DNF'd this year of the 90 or so that I've read, is In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros. I read this in my Reading Romance for a Week video, and I don't know, something about this book just started to get really repetitive in the middle, and there were a lot of different subplots going on, and one would get resolved and then we'd move on to the other. I don't know, it was moving fast, but I didn't actually care about anything that was happening. And it started off with really good chemistry between the two, but it is a second chance romance, and the more we kept going back and forth between the two time periods, the more I lost the interest in them and stopped thinking they were going to be as good together anymore. And then also, this book takes place after the US Army pulls out from Afghanistan in 2021, and like the politics and how things are kind of described in this book are somewhat problematic, honestly. And you can kind of look at some of the Goodreads reviews for this book, some of the 1 stars, I think, if you want to, you know, look more into it. But I don't know, I just didn't really feel like this book was for me. I liked it a lot in the beginning, so I might try her other military romance and see if I like that one better, just because I really did love Fourth Wing. But yeah, this one was a pass, and I don't know, since I DNF'd it, like, I don't really think it needs to be rated. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. And then, so the next book is Daughter of the Pirate King. This is a YA fantasy, and I ended up rating this book, can't remember if I decided between 3.7 or 4 stars, but I think I am going to just go with a 3.75. Even though I really did enjoy this book and had a ton of fun with it, there were some things that started to slow down a little bit towards the middle, and the ending wasn't super like captivating or anything like that. There is a sequel to this book that I plan on reading at some point, but I don't know, the ending was good but not amazing, if that makes sense. And so basically this book is about Alosa, who's the daughter of the Pirate King, and basically this is her getting captured on board this ship, and while she's on this ship she's searching for something specific, and during this she kind of interacts with one of her captors, Raiden, and it's romance between them, and it was really cute. I had a really fun time. It definitely gives off Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, and yeah, really fun, really easy to get into because it is YA, but nothing like super emotional or gripping or anything like that, which tends to be what I give the higher ratings to. So another YA, I think this is considered fantasy, but this is House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig, and this is kind of based off the 12 Dancing Princesses, if you guys have ever seen that Barbie movie, which I actually loved when I was younger, so I was really excited for this because it's kind of like a darker, you know, more mature take on that, if that makes sense. Because in the beginning, 4 of the sisters are dead, and like it kind of mysterious ways, a lot of people think these sisters are cursed, and some of them think they're cursed, and there's just kind of like a lot of weird occurrences. One of her little sisters sees the ghosts of her dead sisters. I don't know, just a ton of stuff goes on in this book, but it moved so slowly, and it felt like, I don't know, I just remember it feeling like it really dragged out and not having a good time and kind of forcing myself to read it. So I believe I gave it like a 3 stars because there were a lot of parts that I did like. It really is atmospheric and you can imagine a lot of the things going on, but it felt really slow at parts, and yeah, so the pacing was a little off. The ending was okay, you know, there are some plot twists, and I don't know, I thought it wasn't the most creative one, if that makes sense. So it was fun at some parts, but I definitely wouldn't say put this at the top of your TBR. Oh gosh. Okay, so yeah, I don't know what it is this month. I feel like I either read really good books or some of the worst books that I've read like this year, honestly. So another book that I just really did not end up liking, I can't remember if I ended up giving this a 2 or 3 stars, probably would lean closer to a 2, but this is Rhapsody by Laura Talassa, and basically this book, if you've read ACOTAR, just kind of felt like a ripoff of some of that, and there's kind of like deeper subjects in this book that seemed very surface level and that should have probably been dove into a lot more. And it's one of those romance fantasy books where the fantasy is such a small element. I kind of prefer where the romance is more of a subplot. And also, so this book is about some girl who makes a bargain with some immortal guy while she's like 15, and that kind of is just weird, you know, like Next book, which was the only thriller I read, was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, and I actually ended up really liking this book. I haven't read a thriller in a while, like I said, but this one kept me on my toes the entire time. Every single person was suspicious. There were so many different theories that I had in my head and wasn't sure which one it could be because all of them were like plausible, and the ending definitely got me. It's hard to explain where it's not like out of the blue, but it's definitely shocking how it all goes down. And yeah, definitely really liked this book. Want to read a few more of Gillian Flynn's books this fall, and I would definitely recommend. And by the way, so this book is about a reporter, Camille, who goes back to her hometown to investigate the death and now disappearance of two little girls. Basically, her hometown, there's a lot of weird things going on. She has a lot of weird relationships with her family, and yeah, it's definitely eerie, and I feel like it would be a good fall read if you guys are looking for a thriller. Okay, so one of the books that I finished towards the beginning of the month and actually only read like the last 50 or so pages, can't even remember, was The Float Plan. This was actually recommended by Lauren's Reading Corner on Instagram, and this book is about Anna, whose fiance committed suicide a year prior, so definitely check like the trigger warnings. And basically they had planned on going on this Caribbean like boat trip together, and in kind of commemoration she decides to go on it alone, but she realizes she can't really man the ship alone. She definitely needs help, so she ends up hiring this guy named Kian, and Kian is like a leg amputee, and basically she chooses him to help her on the boat, and they sail around the Caribbean. It's really cute. It's really sweet, their love story and kind of her getting through the grief. There's also a dog in this book if you love dogs in books. Also, this would be a really good book if you're kind of missing summer feelings during the winter or fall, because it does take place kind of during Thanksgiving and Christmas, so it really could be read at like any time of the year. Okay, and then another book that I finished kind of towards the beginning was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, and this was actually my first Ali Hazelwood book, and I really enjoyed this. I had a great time. I gave it a 4.25, and so this is about Elsie and Jack. She's trying to get a professor job at this specific college that he happens to kind of be on like the board for, kind of helps deciding who gets hired, and she happens to be fake dating his brother, which he does not know, and he's kind of suspicious of her because she like initially said she was a librarian while she was, you know, meeting the family, and she ends up being this physicist, so it's kind of like they get off on the wrong foot, academic rivals to lovers. It was a really fun time. She does go into some of like the academic politics of women in STEM and how women get treated in male-dominated fields and stuff like that, but there aren't like overly scientific terms in here, if that makes sense. And I really loved how Jack just saw Elsie for who she was and kind of helped her develop and, you know, become more sure of herself. And yeah, it was just a really cute story between them, and definitely want to read some more of Ali Hazelwood's books now. Okay, so the next book is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, which is the second book to When in Rome, and I absolutely love this author. She makes really good rom-coms with no spice, if that's what you're looking for. They're pretty short, but definitely still have depth and a really good story to them. This is about Will and Annie. Will is a bodyguard for Amelia, who is a pop star and in the first book, and Annie is the Annie is the sister of the guy from the first book who's together with Amelia. And basically he is kind of like the bad boy. He's kind of used to having a really fast-paced lifestyle where he's not tied down to one place. He's used to traveling, you know, with this pop star around the world and doing crazy adventurous things, and her thing is that she really has never left this town very much. She plans on getting married really soon, having kids, kind of, you know, having really solid roots in this town. He agrees to fake date her and help her like get used to dating and get over like the nerves that she has, because that's kind of what's preventing her from achieving her dream, if that makes sense. And it was really cute. I love the dynamics between them. There was such like honest conversations and such like good communication between them, which I absolutely loved. And I also loved the dynamics between them and like the family and the town. It was all very cute. If you like small town romances, I also definitely recommend this one, and yeah, definitely give this one a try. I don't think I said what I rated it, but I gave it a 4.25. Alright, and then the last book, which was probably my favorite book of the month, was one from my Enemy by Olivia Blake, and this book is a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I don't know if it's YA fantasy or adult fantasy, but it is fantasy, and it's kind of more of an urban fantasy since it's set in modern day New York. And there's a feud between these two witch families, the Antonovas and the Fedorovs, and basically there's a ton of history between these two families, and there's a current conflict that you're following, and just kind of like, I don't want to get too much into it because a lot of stuff happens very quickly. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this book. Her writing is super like lyrical and poetic, and it was super easy to get into because it's so like fast paced and just, you know, constantly things are happening and there's so many characters, but there weren't too many characters to where it was like hard to keep track of anybody or anything like that. And yeah, I absolutely love this book. Like I said, going to give it like a 4.5, 4.75. I don't know, I always have like a really hard time with rating. I would definitely recommend this book, and I really want to read the rest of Olivia Blake's books because I also have The Atlas Six and Alone with You in the Ether, which are also like really highly like loved. So yeah, so that was the last book that I read this month. Okay guys, so that is gonna wrap up the 10 books that I read in August. I did have most of these in reading vlogs, so if I described anything really awfully, which I'm sure I did, you can definitely check out those videos. And also, if you have any questions about any of these books, feel free to leave them below. Also, let me know if you've read any of these books or plan on reading any of these books. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for me, and I will see you guys all in the next one.